we're live. Well, welcome to another episode of the Spurs Rewind. I'm your host, Joe Garcia, and I'm going to be joined today by our co-host. We're going to be joined by John Diaz. How you doing, John?
I'm good, man. I was trying to not freestyle there and embarrass myself.
Like Vicky? We needed to go live with that so we can show Vicky's little dance that she does.
Like,
She likes the beat. She's like, the bass. I
Yes.
like that bass drop.
exactly.
So
Gets
we're
me in the zone.
Yep, and we're also going to be joined by our good friend here, the one and only Vicky Vic. Vicky, how's it going?
Good. Going well.
I kind of saw your Twitters, and I saw that you did, in fact, your husband did, not you, but your husband got a jersey, the San Antonio Spurs Fiesta jersey,
He
and we're
did.
talking about this. And yes, Vicky did open the
I-
box up, probably try it on. Didn't even let him get in,
Yeah.
get home.
Guilty. Yes.
Take that away from him.
Yeah. But it's, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
She's
I
all,
love
it's
it.
so pretty. It's so beautiful. You're gonna
It
say like my
is.
niece. She goes, "It's so beautiful," and she's little, and then she starts to cry when she says stuff like that. I'm like,
Yes.
so
Heads
dramatic.
up. They run a little bigger, I think, than last year's.
Oh man, last year was
They
ridiculous.
were so tight last year. It was kind of weird.
They didn't get
So,
them made
yeah,
at a
these are
sweatshop
probably-
this time, hopefully.
Yeah. I think they're legit.
I was like, these aren't the foreign sizes. You're gonna use the
Yes.
American size chart. We're a little bigger here.
They realized people were eating them. They were wearing the jerseys to like Rolando Super Tacos and stuff, and they're like, okay, we can't
Yeah.
make
They
them
probably
these small
saw
anymore.
some of the pictures of the people eating Rolando Super Tacos, and they said, okay. We got to go up a size.
Exactly.
They
So,
shouldn't
that's
even.
good. That's good.
They should just have sizes. I think like, when you get to extra large, just call it gigante, or something like that. And just put the
Gigante.
Oh my
X,
God.
put the X in front of it.
Oh my
There
god.
you go. They need to make some jerseys for some big people, man.
They do, because they're kind of like
They're
they just
little
kinda
bitty.
taper off.
And some of us have a full figure. We're full figured,
Thick with two C's.
Yes.
Thick.
Yeah,
Oh
thick,
my gosh.
thick, healthy. We're healthy. Let's put it like that.
Yes, exactly.
We eat our tortilla and we enjoy our Starbucks
Yes.
with extra sugar.
Oh my God.
So
With extra sugar.
no, I'm just playing. I hate Starbucks because I got to wait in line so long. But let's go ahead and
I
get
love
into some
Starbucks.
Spurs talk here. We're going to go ahead and talk about, we're going to start off right away with the news that was breaking. And that was going to be George Gervin is now going to have his own documentary from the people who brought us The Last Dance, which is very exciting news to us. We're really excited. I know all of us are excited. I was excited because I saw this come through because Michael De Leon, shout out to you, Michael, was sharing that information in the Project Spurs Slack. So I got to see that, and he shared the press release, and I was like, whoa, this is actually legit. Like, this is going to be a nice documentary showcasing one of San Antonio's very own
Right.
iconic players, George Gervin. And it would be amazing to see the behind the scenes footage and stuff that they were able to gather together to actually, make this documentary come to fruition. So I know I'm going to be really excited about it. Vicky, what were your first thoughts?
I mean, I was just kind of like, wow, that's interesting. I don't think no, I know that we take George Gervin for granted in San Antonio just because, like he's the original Spur, the original great Spur. But I think he's also underrated, like many great Spurs have been. And it's amazing to see him getting this kind of recognition because he was, he was big for the game of basketball, going from the ABA to the NBA, one of the, I guess, first of his style of play. Just really innovative. And it's cool to see him getting recognized for that. And it's also just really amazing that it's by the same director, I guess. Was it director?
Yeah, by the same director
Yeah,
and then the same
as The
production
Last
company.
Dance.
Mm-hmm.
That's just really like, wow to me. I wonder where it's going to, be available for viewing, how we'll be able to watch that. But I'm looking forward to it.
Maybe you have to have a special membership to the OnlyFans for Project Spurs. The only way you can watch it.
Project Spurs only.
Oh, and then Michael I put the comment up here just for you, John. He says, did John get the magic marker jersey I sent in? That's all the budget would allow.
Well, with the supply chain stuff, I don't know, Mike. It's probably
That's
not
all
coming
the
in anytime
budget.
soon.
It's you got a white plain jersey that says Spurs or something. San Antonio.
I'll wear it to the gym. Mike underestimates what I'll wear.
Spurs.
Project Spurs.
Yes.
And then you know what?
Oh
I
my
bet you that
goodness.
magic marker or the permanent marker was from the dollar store too, bro. So
It's
you
just
aren't going to have
bleed through
enough.
everything.
You're not going to have
Dollars.
enough. It's only going to spell project, and you're going to have to buy another one for Spurs.
It'll wash off.
It'll
like,
wash off.
after
Don't let it
you
rain
use it.
on you.
Yeah.
Oh man, Mike's gonna cut us off, dude. He's like, you guys are ridiculous.
I know.
He's like, I pay for this.
This is the content that we're putting.
This is the content we
This is
put
what
out.
happens when the Spurs are bad.
Right? We're the starting unit, damn it.
Yes.
So
Put us
John,
out there in those magic marker jerseys.
right? The magic marker jerseys. It'd be interesting to see what names we come up with. You
Right.
know? I'm sure.
And the designs. So many people were upset with the, new Fiesta jerseys. So we could create our own.
Yes, we
what we
could.
want.
I'm sure Vicky's would have glitter on it somehow, some way.
Yes.
I almost guarantee it.
The best of
It'll
everything.
probably still be better than what they're wearing.
Bedazzled.
Aw.
And John, what did you think about the documentary announcement? You know, George Gervin getting his own documentary.
I was surprised and I was extremely excited because obviously there's no Spurs without George Gervin. You know, that team probably relocates after they join the NBA. And I know everyone that grew up in San Antonio in some sort of capacity has like an awesome story about a Spur they met. And I think George is one that I've never heard a bad story about George. Maybe some of the other guys, not David, obviously, but some of the other guys, there's some questionable stories out there about, being rude or just not receptive to fans. But George, growing up, met him as a kid, played golf, hit golf balls at a driving range with him and stuff like that. He's just such a genuine human being. And the fact that he gets overlooked, not only as a Spur, but in basketball history, period.
Yes.
Like you see Kevin Durant acknowledging him, and it's like, it doesn't come to mind especially when you think Spurs. Like George Gervin isn't the first player to kind of like trigger that memory or anything. So I hope they do a good job, and I hope they make it widely available because that man was special, and those old Spurs teams were fun, which is a lot more than we can say these days. That if they had that same kind of level of fun and offensive flair and stuff. Like one of the great George Gervin stories is like him. I think the night before he won the scoring title, or the day before, he's asleep in Hemisphere Park in the afternoon, just taking a nap on a bench.
Wow.
And it's just like those are those little things like people need to know about. That needs to actually be talked about more. So I'm excited and I hope it's good, man.
Yeah, I hope it's good as well. I'm really excited to see what they wind up doing because this is a very big production, and showing the old days of what it was like to be in the arena, Hemisphere Arena, the fans. You were allowed to smoke back then, and so were the coaches and the players, So it'd be interesting.
That is crazy.
Drinking beers at halftime, it's a good time. It sounds like a time I'd like to be in,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
They'd be asking the ball boy, "Hey kid, can I bum a cigarette from you?"
Can I bum a cigarette? That does seem like a fun time, though.
Yeah, they'll be like, "Sure, mister." But it sounds like a fun time. I want to see this, but
yeah,
we're going to have to wait to see where it's going to premiere and more information. I'm sure somehow it'll probably wind up making its way either to ESPN Plus or it's going to be premiering like on Netflix or something,
For sure.
That'd be
big
awesome.
platform.
As long as it's not like Paramount Plus or anything like that.
Oh man.
I know.
I love Paramount Plus because I'm a big Trekkie. I love Star Trek.
Oh, I do love Star
But
Trek.
paying for another service, I'm just like, oh, can't do it.
And that's
man.
the only good thing they have.
Vicky. You don't want to watch ridiculousness for hours on end? How dare you?
Vicky's throwing shade, man. She's bringing that fire today. So let's go ahead and start getting into some talk here about the San Antonio Spurs. That's not so good. I
Do
mean,
we have to?
unfortunately for us Spurs fans, the San Antonio Spurs winded up losing yet another game. This means that they're in the midst of a 3-game losing streak, and they lost yesterday to the Los Angeles Clippers. And yes, I stayed up to watch, and it was disheartening to say the least, 106-92. But
Mhm.
I knew damn well going in, I knew full well they were probably not going to wind up winning this game. It was a lot closer than I think most people predicted, but nonetheless, it was still the same result. They tried really hard, they tried to stay competitive. They did everything they could except knock down their shots. I think that's kind of the story of the season here. And from beyond the arc, they were abysmal. They were 5 of 22. I mean, the only thing you can do is just keep shooting. I mean,
Yeah.
eventually, sometime they're going to wind up going in. And that's the thing with the San Antonio Spurs. When they when they are all on the same page and they're knocking down their threes, they can win games, And not only knocking down your threes, but knocking down your free throws. I think that's a big big key to victory. Knock down your free throws. If they can do these things, they give themselves a better chance of winning. But unfortunately, they're not on every single night, as we've seen since the beginning of the season. And here we are yet again. So now I believe their record is like, what are they, 4-10 now? I mean, it's
4-9.
4-9,
Right.
4-10.
4-10.
Yeah,
Four
4 and
and
10. They
10.
are 4-10. And this is coming straight from Paul Garcia. So I'm gonna go ahead and display this. So just give me a second here. I gotta work with this. But Paul was actually putting up here some stats, which I'm gonna share with you guys right now. Here we go. I got it on the screen now. So Paul was saying that the Spurs are 4-10 overall, and they are 2-6 on the road. So, and they are also 0-9 when trailing by 10, and they're on a 3-game losing streak for the second time this season. Doesn't bode well, for for one San Antonio Spurs uh, and the fans themselves. The fans want to see the team win, and unfortunately, we've seen them kind of struggle. But it's going to be one of those seasons, season of growth. So we'll start with you, John. Beyond just the X's and O's and what you're seeing out there as far as the abysmal 3-point shooting from yesterday, I mean, what really stands out to you as far as this new losing streak now?
They don't have a bench. You can't rely on Devin Vassell being there every night on the bench, so you kinda have to rely on
Mhm.
Lonnie Walker, and Lonnie's numbers are atrocious. Like, he just seems he's shooting 30% from 3. I think his attempts are exactly the same. He's not any more aggressive than he was last year, and he's actually averaging less points per game. I'm not saying he's the reason they're losing. It's just it's pretty obvious that the bench has no punch to it. The offense is all the starters, and luckily Keldon seems to have found his shooting stroke a little bit. Derek has as well, but yeah, it's rough watching. And then that Clippers game, they started that third quarter really well, and I kind of just sat back. I was kind of shocked. It's like, okay, hey, this is a good Clippers team. I know they started the season
Mhm.
pretty badly, and Paul George has kind of like righted that ship a little bit, but the moment they fell apart, it was just like, all right, time to play Halo because I'm not gonna I don't want to watch that. I just really don't. And then it's just one of those things where I think they shot 7 free throws yesterday, and if you look at what the Clippers shot, I think it was 22, and then
Yeah.
in makes alone, that was the game. I don't
Mhm.
understand, like, they're not drawing contact for fouls, and I know the rules have changed, and we can hammer all that all we want, but if you're not getting to the line, you're not gonna get those opportunities, regardless of how bad this team is at shooting free throws. It's just constantly something is always just missing with this squad. It's getting really tiring to watch. Whatever it is, they can't fully click for more than one game. They can't fully click for more than one game, and that's frustrating when it's a new team that
Mhm.
isn't exactly that new.
Yeah.
Right.
Outside of that, obviously they miss Jakob really badly, but I know we'll touch on that in a little bit.
Yeah. So here's some of the stats or the box scores from yesterday. As you can see, just point production, you're going down the line here. Keldon Johnson, 10 points. Doug McDermott, 7. Drew Eubanks 8. DeJounte Murray, he was just one shy of a triple double. He had 9 assists, 26 points, and was it a total of 12 rebounds? So one assist shy of a triple double. Derek White, he had a better game this time. He had 19 points. So, you have that. And then you look at the bench production, as you had alluded to, John. You look at Thaddeus Young. I mean, he had 10 points. Devin Vassell, who's usually money, didn't have a very good game. 2 points. Lonnie Walker contributed 4. And then you had Trey Jones with 6 points. I mean, that's really not going to be enough to get it done. And then, of course, your boy Bryn Forbes here, 0 points.
Who?
Bryn Forbes in 12 minutes and 13 seconds of play.
At least he's only playing 12 minutes. At least we're not seeing those 30-minute games like we were the year before he left.
But I'm going to get to you too, Vicky. The lineup, though, that we saw out there at one point in time, it was Bryn Forbes and Trey Jones. That was horrid. That never needs to happen again. I don't know if Coach Pop was trying to be cute, but that was horrible. And what did you see in the game? I mean, beyond just this game, in this new 3-game losing streak, what has stuck out to you as far as them losing?
A few big things, like the fact that they're so easily disrupted. Like they could be playing super well for a couple minutes and everything's going right for them. And then as soon as something good happens on the other side, they just fall apart. And the fact that they can go I don't know, 5, 6, 7 possessions or more really very often without scoring and without offensive boards, great, numbers on the boards. It's just that really is frustrating to me. And I know DeJounte's been the best. He's been great for them. But he on this team needs to be basically perfect. And he's still making mistakes that I think he shouldn't be making as a 6th year, 5th year, whatever he is, player. He's got to be the best on the team, and he's not. I don't think he's living up to that. He did amazingly last night. He's been doing, great, awesome. But that game against, I think it was the Lakers, there was a possession at the end where they were within 2 points or whatever it was. He turns the ball over. Then they go back, he shoots and is way off. And then, I mean, that just can't happen. You're that close in the game. Vassell was really on that night. Give the ball to Vassell. I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know if that's him feeling like he needs to carry the team on his back, but it's not working. And then another very big thing that I'm concerned about is the fact that players like Keldon, Derek White, basically they're the only ones, but those two, well, no, Lonnie, have taken so long to get together. They can't get their stuff together. Derek yesterday looked really good. Still not as good as I think he is or should be. But he looked a lot better than he has been. The fact that Keldon can be great one game and then the next game put up 10 points. I mean, really, it comes down to the scoring, and nobody is consistently scoring except for DeJounte. And when Poeltl was here, when he was playing Poeltl. But yeah, it's just the fact that there's such inconsistency. I don't see them stringing together wins until, I don't know, maybe February if they keep going at this rate, because it doesn't look like they're learning, and it's frustrating. But yeah, I was happy to see Derek play. Okay. That's pretty much the only positive.
All right. And then
only good thing.
We do have some comments here from some of our viewers watching us on YouTube. Gregory Castillo, he goes and puts, I just need 29 wins to beat Vegas. I feel you, man. I said, if they get to 29 wins, it's going to be a major milestone in its own right there. Because honestly, I just don't see that happening. I'm being perfectly honest with you guys. I kind of said that before the start of the season as well. It's going to be a struggle. It's not really about the wins or losses. It's about how the team's going to develop and grow, from this. Eric Pacina, he brings up something that I've kind of said as well. He says, so move White to the bench for Vassell. Bench Bryn again. I kind of like that. I mean, the problem is that when you have Devin Vassell and you have Derek White playing on the court at the same time, it's kind of like oil and water. They don't mesh well together. And DeJounte's
Mhm.
he's the alpha. You know, Derek is kind of like that backup role. He's going to be a facilitator of the ball, but he's not very consistent. If he's not very consistent, something needs to be tweaked with the starting lineup. And to me, bringing in Devin and putting Derek to the second unit to help run the second unit to kind of be the leader of that second unit, it makes more sense. But again, if you go ahead and do that, you're going to lose production in the bench, and they already are pretty bad. So I mean, what's going to happen if they can't put up points?
Right.
You're going to wind up squandering leads, or if you're down by 4 and you put that second unit in and they can't score, you can go down by 10, 20 real quick. So I kind of see why Coach Pop is so reluctant to mess with that. He has
It's
something right
worth
now.
trying. I
Well,
think
he
it really is worth trying, and he hasn't tried anything.
well he did, Vicky. He did try something. He put in Bryn Forbes and Trey Jones.
Oh gosh.
That did not work. So we did also have a comment here from Michael. Michael says, Bryn serving up more fries than threes. And that's because of the picture that I shared in the Slack. That's funny.
Yes.
And Tavares says, he goes, the team needs a backup big. Well,
Mm,
they have some bigs. They're just, they're role players. And one of the
yeah.
bigs that they have is, in this health and safety protocols in Jock Landale. And one Jakob Poeltl was not available last night against the Clippers, to the dismay of many Spurs fans. The official reason given was reconditioning. I'm not buying that. I'm like, how sick was his brother? Like, did he have full on COVID? I mean, like, what's going on with him? I mean, they don't have to say, and it's his personal preference. It's his business. But when you've missed this many games, I mean, something's happening. And obviously, there's something going on. You would think that he would be available for the Minnesota game, which is going to be occurring tomorrow. But if again he's sat for reconditioning, then why did he travel with the team? That's a head scratcher to me. What are your thoughts, Vicky?
I think he must have been pretty sick, because I feel like that I haven't even heard that. I don't know if anyone else on another team has been held, from playing for reconditioning or whatever. But it seems like he tried, or he was maybe in practice or something and not able to compete, didn't have the stamina, which means he very well could have had COVID and, a bad case of it. Um, but it is concerning, because if he's experiencing, those kind of symptoms long term, then he could be out for a very long time. And the Spurs obviously need him. So I'm hoping it wasn't that, or I'm hoping, I don't know, some sort of excuse they were giving, but I don't know. I can't see any other reason why they wouldn't have played him at this stage and after him traveling with the team. Seems like he should have played. So yeah, it's a bit of a head scratcher.
What are your thoughts on that? The reconditioning excuse, John?
It's hard because the Spurs are always going to err on that side of caution and player safety first, and it's hard. Like, just for an example, you kind of look at Aaron Rodgers, his whole famous COVID bout, and he only missed the week. Then he goes back out there and
Mhm.
plays that next game. Uh, Going back to baseball season, Yankees third base coach Phil Nevin, not even a player, a coach, who was fully vaccinated, very healthy individual, nearly hospitalized and dying from COVID while vaccinated. So it's just kind of like you hope Jakob didn't have too bad of a case, because it's more long term repercussions that you got to worry about in that case, instead of hey, he's not going to play against Minnesota. At the same
Yeah,
time, it doesn't also mean that he's not going to play against Minnesota, because the Spurs have a really bad tendency of just saying, hey, surprise, injury report changed.
exactly.
So I would hope. I think the bigger thing is, like, you would need him out there to kind of defend Karl Anthony Towns and beat Minnesota. At the same time, Minnesota's not that good,
Yeah, they're
and
not.
maybe Drew can do just enough to help beat that team. But hey, 14 games in, if it helps him long term to get fully reconditioned, however the Spurs want to put it, go for it. But I mean, he still doesn't solve any of the problems that we've seen with this team, regardless if he's on the floor or not.
Mhm.
He gives them a better chance of winning. You see, the thing that I've said with Jakob Poeltl is when he's on the team and he's playing, when he's playing with the San Antonio Spurs, they're a 500 team. They play like a 500 team. When he's not with the squad, they play like a lottery team, and that just
Yeah.
shows you how important that big man role is with this particular team because they're so undersized, they're so small. They don't have a lot of length, and until they address that, this is going to be the norm. While they can get up and down in the open court and look exciting at times, and have some spectacular dunks and layups, finger rolls, what have you. At the end of the day, the bread and butter is, especially when you start wanting to get into the playoffs, is they start taking away your speed from you and they make you a
Mhm.
half court shooting team. It's a half court set. It's very methodical. It's, they're playing defense. They're going to lock you down. They're going to force you to make tough shots. And unfortunately for the Spurs, they don't have the experience to knock down those shots just yet. And they still are missing some pieces. They have some role players, but they're still missing that whatever it is, that star power. There's talk right now that DeJounte is making a big name for himself, and he might, in fact, be considered for the NBA All-Star game if he keeps on this current trajectory of almost getting triple doubles. Like, it's normal, So
Yeah.
if that happens and he does get, selected or, by the coaches or what have you, that would be a big step for the Spurs, as far as them having somebody that can be said, hey, we have an all-star, a bona fide all-star that's playing with this team. That might make this team a little bit more attractive to potential suitors, because currently we don't have an all-star on this team, so it would be something that would be moving this team in a positive direction. That
That's true.
you need some help, so you're going to have to get some help in the NBA draft lottery. So keep on doing what you're doing, If you're gonna lose, just keep on losing, try, and do the best you can, but
Right.
don't try it too hard because we need a top 5 pick, because if we're messing with 6 through 10, I don't know, John, I'm iffy about that one.
Mhm.
And I've heard the jokes already. Benchero. Everybody wants to tank for Benchero. And then somebody had put Benchero and eggs. I'm like, nah, don't use that no more. That made me laugh, but I was like, that was pretty bad.
Gross.
It's gonna be a Photoshop by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, for
That
real.
yes. Oh my gosh.
Benchero and eggs. I'm like, no, don't use that no more. That was pretty bad. But let's go ahead and get away from this, Jakob Poeltl talk and kind of preview the game that is coming up tomorrow, which is going to be the Spurs versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. And as John has alluded to, this team is not very good. Um,
Vicky's Timberwolves, by the way.
Vicky's
I didn't
Timberwolves, by the
forget.
way. Yes,
I didn't forget.
let's go ahead and put that in there. The Spurs. The Spurs are currently 4-10, and the Minnesota Timberwolves are currently 4-9. So I mean, something's got to give. It's kind of like the toilet bowl. Somebody's got to win. But you would think that
Oh gosh.
the Spurs would put up a better showing against a team that's kind of on the same trajectory as they are. So I hope to see something more out of the team. Maybe they can wind up getting a double digit win. That would really boost their confidence and ego right now because it's kind of deflated. You need something to keep this team going, and keep morale high. So Vicky, what can you tell us about the preview for tomorrow against the Spurs against the Minnesota Timberwolves? Your Minnesota Timberwolves.
Well, technically they look very different now than when I was there. The only one, well, no, they've got a few of the same people, but Cat, he's been there forever. I really like him. But other than that, I think it's a pretty equal matchup, actually. At this point, I do think the Spurs have the potential to be better if Jakob plays. But I think even without Jakob, I think they could do pretty well. I'm hoping for, at least like a 10-point win. I think they could manage something like that as long as, honestly, even if they just play not exceptionally well. If they could just play like all of them, okay, I think they could win. I really do. But if they have a terrible night from the three again, if the bench is sucking again, I don't know. I mean, it's really up in the air to see, because you never know. I mean, the Timberwolves have had some pretty good games also. Um, I guess the 4 that they've won have looked pretty nice. Uh, and then, they have like some superstar quality to them. So I don't know. I think it'll be good experience because they're young. Spurs are young. I'm always going to hope for a win. I guess, is it realistic to think they're going to win? I want to say this is probably this game would have been the most possible for them to win out of the road trip. So I'm hoping they will. And I'm thinking they can. But I'm hesitant to say that because they've really surprised me.
And me, I'm on the other
And
opposite end of that. It's like you think you can do these things, Nemo, but you can't. You know. So they got to prove something, man. That this is a game where you come out and make a statement and say, "Let's turn this thing around. Let's get a win and keep on moving with it." Let's forget about the games that we dropped, the close ones, what have you. Just maybe this is something they can build upon, right, Vicky?
I think so. And I think DeJounte needs a win soon because he's trying so hard and it's going to end up being too discouraging if he doesn't win. And, I don't know, he's got to carry the team right now.
Yeah.
And
What are your
I don't
thoughts,
know.
John? I mean, this team has to get a win sooner or later. I mean, why not against the Timberwolves?
Yeah, and I feel like Spurs Timberwolves games are always a little stressful for some reason. I don't know what it is about, even going back to like Kevin Garnett. I don't know what it is about the Spurs going into Target Center that just feels icky. But Minnesota
Too
sucks at
cold.
shooting threes. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And Minnesota's a terrible 3-point shooting team, but at the same time they have Anthony Edwards.
Yes.
And they have Karl Anthony Towns, they have D'Angelo Russell, which I guess if you're the Spurs, that doesn't look as bad because you're like, hey, we're the Spurs and we're 4-10, and we don't really have like our superstar of the future outside of
Right.
DeJounte Murray. They've got how many number 1 picks and they're 4-9? Like, it could always be worse. I guess
It
that's the good
could.
part about it. Outside of that, if let me channel my inner Woody Page. If you look at the schedule, this is probably the last winnable game outside of Atlanta and Portland for about a month. So
They do.
you got to take care of business. Just get the hell out of there with a win. I don't care how it comes. I don't care how ugly it is or anything. Just win the damn game and come home and try to steal as many as you can after that.
Yeah, it's gonna be I think one of these games that you gotta have. This is gonna be
Yes.
a really pivotal point for the Spurs. You have to get this win because after this, we're gonna go ahead and preview what's coming. They have a 4-game homestand, and right after the Timberwolves, they're gonna face the Suns, the Hawks, the Celtics, and the Wizards, who are at the top of the Eastern Conference right now.
Yep.
I mean, these
Kyle Kuzma
Looking
teams,
would look
good.
nice in the Spurs uniform, huh?
yeah, really. But you're looking at the schedule beyond just, okay, these are just the 4 games that they have on their homestand. You kind of look a little bit into the future. Okay, let's see the month of December coming up. Trailblazers, Warriors, Suns, Knicks, Nuggets back to back. I'm like, the only game that I can see that the Spurs might be able to get some run, really, and maybe pull out a win here is going to be the December 12th game against the lowly Pelicans. I mean,
And Zion might be back by then. So that
yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe he might go off and start hitting threes and, looking like a world beater like he did that one game against the Spurs, So who knows?
Yes.
I mean, it's not looking good. So you have to get this one against the Timberwolves to stay afloat. Um, this is brutal, a
Yes.
brutal stretch here for this team. Vicky, I mean, your thoughts? 4-game homestand. What are you giving the Spurs as far as chances for maybe getting a dub?
Honestly, I mean, like it hurts me to say this, but I think it's likely they'll go on another losing streak, 4-game losing streak. It pains me to say
They started
this.
a new 4-game losing streak.
Yes, the third 4-game losing streak because wait, what are they on right now? 3
They're
or
on the
4?
third. They're on the third
Oh
game,
shoot.
3-game losing
Okay,
streak.
well then okay, that would be their second. Gosh. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I see any of those as really winnable.
I think they can win, but it requires them, since they're not star laden, for everybody to play at a high level and not make a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
And
And that's the thing. They haven't been. Like,
Yeah.
I think that they have the potential. And I'm like, okay, am I just kidding myself? Or are they really that bad that they can't win? And I don't want to think that they're that bad because, you know, they have a lot of talented players. I think they're all talented, but they're not gelling. I think if anything, maybe Atlanta also. That's it. But the other three, they're going to have to work very hard for it, and they're going to have to be like, it has to be an effort, a true effort. They've got to, I mean, I don't know what the deal is though. It's not like they're not trying, but you know, they had that win, the last win they had on Wednesday last week. I can't even remember. I'm blanking. Who did they play?
Sacramento.
Sacramento. Yes, they have this win.
I can't remember the last time they won.
Yes, it's terrible. But you know, they have this great game. Then they come back the next day and like everyone's complaining, oh, we weren't focused. We let ourselves get complacent. I'm like, okay, I get that. Yes, but you can't be complacent when you're like 4-9
The
or
fourth one of
10
the
or
season.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. Oh, we're good. Like we've turned a corner. We've won 4 games. No, I heard that and I was like, okay, great. Like cool, but who are you kidding? Like complacency has no like, I don't know. I want them to win. I think they deserve to. If anything, DeJounte deserves to win. Vassell, for the most part, deserves to win. The other guys could use a little bit of like, I don't know, they need something. So I don't know. I'm hoping maybe if they do get a win tomorrow, they won't get complacent after that. Maybe they'll actually fight when they come home. But I don't know.
What are your
know.
thoughts, John? I mean, they got to get a win somewhere, somehow. It starts with Minnesota, dude. You know?
I really want to touch on that real quick. How pathetic that at the last game of last season, there was that talk between DJ and Kelvin that said, this is the last time we're doing this, missing the playoffs bleep.
Yes.
And then now you're celebrating the 4th one of the season against Sacramento. Holy crap. What a reality check that is.
Yeah.
This home stretch is going to suck. I'll say that much. Yeah, because like you said, like just looking at the schedule, like I think Portland maybe after that Portland, and it's a road game. And God, the Wizards, if there's any kind of hope for the Spurs in getting assets to trade, you can always turn really bad contracts into something. Because now look at the Wizards at 10-3. They got rid of John Wall. They got rid of Westbrook. And Beal stuck it out. And I guess Beal trusted them and it paid off. So you kind of goes, you know, I kind of want to tie that into that whole DeMar DeRozan talk to trade with LA. Because like Kuzma would have been a nice piece to have over Thaddeus Young, who's not hardly seeing minutes. And who knows what happened with the trade talk breakdown there. But yeah, this is Phoenix is another one to look at, you know, one piece to turn it around. So
Yeah.
maybe playing those games, they can realize the Spurs are just 1 or 2 pieces away from being able to turn it around. It's just, do you really have the desire to turn it around?
Like, was it that movie Dodgeball? This is going to reveal character.
It seriously will. Honestly, if Derek White could play as good as he is, then I think they could win. They could win the majority of their games if DeJounte and Derek are playing to their potential. And that has never happened this season. I don't think I've seen it at all. DeJounte's been on. Derek, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him, but I mean, I'm not crazy, right? He is better than he's playing. Like he showed what he could do, and now he's just kind of like flatlined. And it's
I think
like,
it all has to deal with matchups. You know, some matchups are going to be more conducive to that player's strength than others. You know, and I think what's happened with Derek is his matchups have not been the best for him.
And
you
maybe
know?
that's because of the fact that the lineups aren't fitting for him. I
Yeah, I
do
still
think
think
they
he's
need
out of
to.
position.
Yeah, it's not working. They should have changed this. Like 3 games in, okay, go to the bench. Like he would be a great sixth man. Honestly,
He
he
fits
would
the
be
Manu
great.
role. Like I don't understand what we're doing. He fit the Manu role. You could see it.
Exactly.
He's instant
Perfectly.
offense, and he's got his slashing numbers compared to DJ's are identical with less turnovers and more efficiency. So why the hell are you
Exactly.
sticking him at shooting guard like he's Danny Green? Danny Green couldn't even dribble 2
Exactly.
feet. Like let's stop trying to make him
Yeah.
this 3 and D guy. He's a point guard. Put him at
Oh
point
my
It
guard.
gosh,
can be
yes.
summed up like this,
Yes.
John, because we like the team we have.
You paid him all that money to play him out of position. It's it's
Yes.
like I go back to baseball and it's like I hate to. I know this is a Spurs show. I'm sorry, guys. I'll bore you with baseball for
No.
1 minute. The Yankees' biggest problem is playing players out of position. You try to get all this talent for what? To put players in positions that they're not good at or used to, just because you have this, abundance of talent. Well, now
Right.
the Spurs, you're exposing that they're not that talented. That's what the Spurs' problem is. These guys
Yeah.
are out of position, not in roles to succeed, and now they're struggling. And then well, why are they struggling? They used to do well. I almost said a word there, but hey, man, like maybe realize what Derek was good at when he won a G League championship, or at least helped Austin get to the G League championship before you needed him for the playoff run. And then the other
Yes.
year when you started him at point guard for DJ and realized, well, that's where he's at his best, put him there. It's not that hard. But let's
He
overthink it in analytics and blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Exactly. 100%. I think they could solve so much of their problems if they did that. I mean, honestly, he's a terrific point guard. He's amazing at point guard, and I think he's discouraged because he's not able to play as a shooting guard, and that's not his fault. He's not a shooting guard.
And he's finally healthy, but yet you still have him just playing a whole different role that he's used to.
Well, they
Exactly.
do have somebody they can switch into the starting lineup and take that shooting guard position. That would be Devin Vassell. But again, you know what's going to happen when you take him out of that second unit? The wheels are going to come off because then you're
Maybe
going
But
to.
Lonnie
I
Walker
don't think
grows up.
so.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
I think Lonnie Walker needs to, grow up or show up or whatever. And then I don't think that it would be as terrible on the bench because you're going to have Derek comfortable in his position as a point guard. So he's going to make up for it. He could outperform what Vassell is doing now on the bench if he's playing in his actual position. I don't know. I don't know
I
why
They
we're
think at
not.
didn't
this
wait this long
juncture,
to start Kawhi. Like, why are we waiting this long to start Devin Vassell? It's the same exact role.
yeah,
You just need him for defense and a couple threes. If anything after that is a bonus, he doesn't need to go out there and score 20 points as a starter.
And he plays so well with DeJounte. I think having them both starting,
And your defense gets better immediately, and you have more size on the floor.
there's more
Yes.
balance with that starting five if you put Devin Vassell in that starting five. Take Derek, put him in that second unit. But to me,
So
honestly,
good.
I
And
think
Trey Jones cannot play anymore because he can't shoot. Please, God.
I
Develop a shot, and
know.
then we can
Yes.
talk about you getting a couple minutes here.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
think the biggest issue though is I think we've seen the pinnacle of what Lonnie can do. He has tons of potential. Unfortunately, he's never going to live up to it. He's not going to be consistent. Who knows
No.
what's going on, But at this point in time, I've seen enough to say, you know what?
Don't resign him.
It's sad.
Don't
but
re-sign him. We
yeah.
have to start looking at either trading him and getting a pick possibly for him, or see what you can get. If not, then well, you go ahead and part ways. And wish him the best. But I think at this point in time, he's kind of shown you what and who he is. And that's
Yeah.
kind of a waste. Because at times he looks great, and then most of the time he's just out there. He's just a body, and that's the problem with the San Antonio Spurs squad is there's just bodies out there on the court that really
Oh
aren't
my
doing
gosh,
much, at
yes.
the end of the day. And unfortunately, you need everybody to play at a high level when you're missing a superstar in order to give yourself opportunities to win games. You can't make a lot of mistakes. And unfortunately, what do we see? Making mistakes, turnovers, can't hit the free throws, wide open threes, they can't knock them down. Sometimes the offense gets stagnant. Everybody's trying to play hero ball instead of moving the
And the
ball.
defense doesn't play where they're supposed to.
Exactly. What
And
was
you know
Bryn
what would be
Forbes doing the
great,
other day?
too?
You know?
Like another issue that also comes across, like let's say the Spurs' interest in Ben Simmons was legitimate and the Spurs could make Ben Simmons work. So you deal, like, let's say, I'm not saying this is a real rumor or anything, but if all of a sudden you say, okay, well, Derek White and Lonnie Walker are available, you send Lonnie Walker home. You send Derek White to Philly because that's their veteran point guard that can replace Ben Simmons immediately.
Right.
But now the problem is Clutch and Ben Simmons are trying to just light the 76ers organization on fire, and Lonnie's a Clutch client. And it's like
Yeah.
those issues of like representation matter, because you're
Yeah,
not
they
just going to
do.
send these guys into a bad situation now because, hey, Clutch is already doing Ben Simmons wrong, or the Sixers are doing him wrong, whatever it is. You don't want to just throw your guys under that same bus and say, well, here, you go deal with it now.
Right.
One of the things that really stood out to me too from this team, and it was a couple of games back when they were playing the Lakers. I know it was a 2:30 game, what have you. Yes, it was early. But one of the things that really took me by surprise is, you got your boy Drew Eubanks. He's getting bullied. He's getting tossed around and pushed, and finally had enough. Stands up for himself. His teammates don't even come to his rescue. The guy's out there by himself. In the old days, if somebody did
Yeah.
that to one of your teammates and the teammates stood up, and everybody would come out and be, hey, what's up, trying to stand up for him.
Right.
Now it seems kind of like that mantra is gone. It's every man for himself.
Yeah.
That's not conducive to a team mentality. That's conducive to a me mentality. I'm going to get mine. So I was like, is that what this team has resorted to? Everybody trying to, pad the stat line, because they
Yeah.
know they're not going to win
And
very
it
many
could
games.
be because they know that they're building for the future, and they know that the Spurs organization is trying to figure out what pieces are going to stick around and who's not. So yeah, I think it's a little bit of toxicity and like, yeah, there's not a lot of camaraderie. You don't see it. You see some of the guys, attached and hanging out and whatever. But yeah, that is interesting. They didn't, yeah, it just kind of was like
No one came to his
fight your
aid.
own battles. Yeah.
I'd be like, you know what? I'm done with you guys. If somebody comes
Yeah,
and picks on you guys, well, I'm going to stand back and watch.
exactly.
I got something in my eye, my contact fell, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But to me, it's just, it's just interesting to me. But regardless, I think there's some little cracks that are showing right now. Even when you hear the players talking with the media at the end of games, you hear that they're frustrated. You can hear some defeat,
Yeah,
in
there
their
is.
voice and their tone. Even I did like the way though that Devin Vassell did call out some of his teammates. He didn't call them out by name. He was just saying, "Hey, we need to clean things up." In other words, we need to play better. We need to play harder. I think he knows that this team is capable of doing much more than they
Yes.
are. Right now, it's just, to me, it's the game that's happening between their ears. It's a mind game.
It
They need to
is.
get themselves in the right place, whatever that might be. And until that happens, they're not all going to be in sync. And I think that's kind of what we've seen in the beginning of the season. They're piping everything up. Oh, you just wait. We've been working so hard, and we're going to surprise everyone in the league, and
Yeah. It's
they go,
immaturity, a lot of
yeah.
it. I
And
think a
in
lot of it is
preseason,
just
what did they do? They looked okay, okay, maybe they got something they can do, work on. And then we see in the regular season, you all thought you were better than you actually are. Here was the expectation that you set for yourself. Here's the reality. Something's not working. Do better, get better, no matter what it is. I mean, you can talk with each other. You can have a players meeting, and just say, look, guys, we got to clean this up, you know, and do whatever you got to do to start playing better. Right now, it's the
yeah.
same thing, same mistakes being made, defensive lapses, not being able to knock down shots. I mean, for whatever reason, I mean, this is getting old. It's like an old record, on
It is.
repeat, over and over. You're going to get the same thing over and over. If you keep on rolling out the same product and nothing is changing, you have to make changes. I think what's going to happen in this month of December, Coach Pop is going to be forced to make some changes, because if he doesn't, this is going to be a recipe for disaster. This team is going to
Yeah.
be hard pressed to win 10 games, 12 games if you keep on rolling out the same lineup.
Yeah, and
Look
I
what's
hope he
happening.
does.
And they'll
I
implode
hope
on
he
each other
makes
pretty
those.
fast too.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I'm just so nervous for that. Seeing them getting frustrated, more and more frustrated every game is just like, it can't last forever. Like, something's gonna happen. Somebody's
Man,
gonna
some of
turn on
these
somebody or
comments are, they're killing me, man. Like, Peter Atonis, this is a good comment. He puts, remember Derek, he played very good versus Denver in the playoffs when DJ was injured. Yeah, because he was running the team. You can't
Yeah.
have Derek and
He's
DeJounte
an
on the
amazing
court.
point guard.
Yeah, you can't have them on the court at the same time. That's not working. And then Tavares watching us from YouTube, he's put, players don't like Eubanks. They know he's no good. Oh my God.
Poor
Wow.
thing.
Wow. This is what we've been reduced to now, you know? But it is what it is. Hopefully they can get things on the right, right the ship, get going again, find your center, be at peace,
Yeah.
do whatever yoga, light your prayer candles, do whatever you got to do. Coach Pop needs to come in, get a curandera or something, come in with some sage and bless the place, whatever you got to do. You got to turn this thing around. It's still early in the season. You still have time to do something better. But if you don't start producing, you're just trying to climb up a mountain, and you don't even got any rope.
Man, and then what makes it look worse too is, a lot of people were so excited that DeMar was gone because they were like, this frees up the young guys to play
Yeah.
Oh, the
more
ISO ball.
openly and this and that. Exactly.
Yeah.
And look at what DeMar looks like when you surround him with talent.
Exactly.
You held on to LaMarcus for too long. You decided to keep going with the young guys because thinking, well, this playoff streak can't last forever. We're trying to compete for a championship, not a first or second round exit. And this is what you ended up with. You didn't give these guys the proper development opportunities in the NBA because you're trying not to get them to sink or swim. I understand that. But if you're going to develop at a slow pace, don't be upset when it doesn't work out a year before or the season before you have to pay someone. And now you're struggling with someone like Alani Walker who you don't know you want to pay him. Now he's not showing you that he wasn't worth paying or even maybe keeping around that third year because you could have freed that up for someone else or freed other minutes or something. And it's a really bad cycle.
Yeah,
but what does that say about the Spurs front office if some of their picks just aren't panning out?
I think they need to figure it out because the same thing. I mean, I think the exact same thing. Like I trusted them. I've trusted their decisions on putting the draft picks into the G League, and who has it panned out for? Like really, who has that shown? Derek White. I think Derek White is one that was playing really well. And I think if he were playing point guard, would be playing really well. But other than that, I mean, Keldon, I think he should be playing at a higher level than he is right now as a third-year player. Or third year. Yeah. Oh my gosh. See, like he's
COVID.
They're not
COVID.
Yeah,
time
exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, the cell is amazing. How much more amazing could he have been if he was given the opportunity to play at a high level against NBA talent when he was a rookie consistently all the time? And he did more because of COVID, but he still didn't get the minutes I think he deserved. I think that and even now he should be a starter. I think that it's not, I don't know. I don't understand why this system has stuck around for so long, and it's really the Spurs only that are doing it.
I'll say this. I think the Spurs haven't caught on. I think the G League was the way to go when the team was good, when you had a bunch of guys ahead of them and a bunch of guys that were, already earned those minutes. That doesn't work anymore. The Warriors have Jonathan Kuminga in the G League, and people are like, hey, look, I thought the Spurs were the only ones that were sending young rookies. Yeah, they've got Steph Curry, okay? They've got Draymond Green. They've got Klay Thompson, who's playing 3-on-3. They don't really need Jonathan Kuminga right now. They tanked for him, let's be honest. They did tank, but,
But they don't need him, yeah.
Yeah, but they don't need him out there. And they already got Wiseman out there also, who they tanked for. And it's like the Spurs aren't afforded those opportunities anymore. Now, Primo should be getting a couple more minutes. I don't care if, his development gets shot later on or this and that. You still need to know what you've got.
Right.
If he's somewhat talented, that bench unit, why are we still watching Bryn Forbes take shots? We know who he is. Derek White is pushing 30. He's in his prime. Like, he's not a spring chicken like some of these kids. Stop doing the same thing over and over again. Just give it a shot. You've got nothing to lose because you're already 4-10.
Put in Primo.
Yes. I really think, he should be getting 20 minutes a game. I mean, as a team who's the worst, one of the worst teams in the league, what have you got to lose?
What does
Like,
destroying G League veterans do that he didn't do at Alabama?
right.
It's a D1 program. Let's be honest. That's the top 1% of athletes in college basketball.
Yeah. And he already is better than most of the Spurs bench. Already.
No.
He would be performing better. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and start bringing this thing to an end here. But before
Therapy
we
session
do,
over
I
once
know.
again.
before we do, I have to go ahead and share with everybody the wall of shame that is Vicky. There is you see the jersey there that she did open the box of. You know, her
Yes.
husband's lovely jersey did come in, and she didn't even give the guy the opportunity to open the box. Poor guy. Look at it,
I
Vicky.
couldn't
Look
help
at
it.
what you did.
I
I'm just
couldn't
playing.
help it. Guilty. Guilty as charged.
It's turned into a Taylor Swift music video so fast.
Right? It's like, look at what you did, Vicky.
The evidence.
So
all there.
So we're gonna go ahead and end the show right here. But before we do, you can go ahead and follow Vicky, and I'm gonna show it right here. You can follow her at the Vicky Vix on Twitters. It's at the Vicky Vix. So make sure you go ahead and follow Vicky. She's a good follow, and she'll put more, stuff up there that she gets, her husband gets, and she goes ahead and opens the box and shares. So poor guy.
Yes.
Don't send any presents to Vicky's house. You want to give it to her husband, give it to him in person. And you can also follow John Diaz at by John Diaz on Twitter. So make sure you go follow John. He's always a hoot, man. He's funny. He likes to kid around with everybody, have fun, especially on the Slack. That's a lot of fun. You need to get back on Slack, Vicky.
You see my friend Dr. Disrespect back here too? The 2-time. Back to back.
There you go. And also you can follow me if you want to go ahead and talk sports or Spurs or anything else in between at Two Shots Podcast. All spelled out TWO, Two Shots Podcast. And also make sure that you use the code from our sponsors here, DraftKings, TBPN. Make sure you go ahead and download the app that is available for iPhones and for all Android devices and use the code TBPN. And for all things Spurs, make sure you check out our good friends over at projectspurs.com. It's where you can see our great staff of writers cranking out amazing Spurs content, like our very own Benjamin Bornstein, who just wrote a great article about Banchero. So you need to go and check that out. So for John Diaz and Vicky Vic, I'm Joe Garcia. Thank you guys for watching another episode of the Spurs Rewind. And like we always say, spread the love, stop the hate, be kind. We're out. Peace.